Alright, welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. If you've never been here before, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you are notified every time a new video goes up on SouFLoTV. This particular topic we've been following for a while. We're talking about the assassination of the Haitian president, then Jovenel Moïse. And we've done quite a few videos on this topic, and here we are with another update. Okay, so his wife, Martine Moïse, the first lady at the time of his assassination, has given an interview to the New York Times. This interview is very telling. I'm going to say this right now before I even go any further. I said it before in other videos, and a lot of people were up in their feelings and up in arms about what I said. I wasn't trying to make the lady guilty or say that she is responsible or say that she planned it or took some part in the assassination of her husband. But I will say this. Pay attention. I'm going to point to you a couple of points that will make your eyebrows go up and you say, Okay, so she said they thought I was dead. This is the Haitian president's widow as she recounts the assassination. Listen to the details. Struck by gunfire, Martine Moïse lay bleeding as the assassins who killed her husband ransacked her room. Now, she says the FBI must find the mastermind behind this attack. With her elbow shattered by gunfire and her mouth full of blood, the First Lady of Haiti lay on the floor beside her bed, unable to breathe as the assassins stormed the room. Her elbow is shattered. Why is her mouth full of blood? Why is her mouth full of blood? I said that twice because it's going to play a role later on. Just keep it in mind. And why is she unable to breathe? Was she unable to breathe because she has a asthma issue or some underlying health issues? Or was she unable to breathe because she was in fright? Why was she unable to breathe? And why was her mouth full of blood? An elbow being shattered does not equal a mouthful of blood. I will continue. The only thing that I saw, in her words, before they killed him were their boots. Martine Moïse said of the moment her husband, President Jovenel Moïse of Haiti, was shot dead beside her. Now, in previous account, she said the man turned to her husband, who was on the phone, and as soon as the target was acquired, as soon as recognition was confirmed, she turned to him, the president, and shot him without warning. She gave that full description before. In this new interview, she says all she saw was their boots. Okay. All I saw was their boots before they shot Jovenel dead right beside me. I closed my eyes and I didn't see anything else. Are y'all paying attention? For those of you who have read or watched all the other videos we've done on this, you've heard me read out word for word what she said and how she described things before. Now it has turned to all I saw was their boots. I didn't see anything else. She listened as they ransacked the room, she said, searching methodically for something in her husband's files. She said, "That's not it. That's not it. That's not it." She recalls them saying this in Spanish over and over. Then finally, that's it. They found it. The killers filed out. One stepped on her feet. Another waved a flashlight in her eyes, apparently to check to see if she was still alive. Okay, these are mercenaries. These are trained killers. You don't wave a flashlight in anybody's eyes to see if they are dead. You pump bullets into a vital organ or an area of the body that you know will equal death. They just killed the president. And by all counts of it, the president had multiple bullet wounds all over his midsection and face area. That's someone who came to kill. Now, when they left, they thought I was dead. Again, why would mercenaries think you are dead after a shattered elbow? After getting shot in the arm? Almost no one dies getting shot in the arm. And these well-trained men knew that. Okay. Now, in her first interview since the president's assassination on July 7th, Mistress Moise, who's 47 years old, described the searing pain of witnessing her husband, a man with whom she had served 25 years, being killed in front of her. She did not want to relive the deafening gunfire, the walls and windows trembling, the terrifying certainty that their children would be killed, the horror of seeing her husband's body, or how she fought to stand up after the killers had left. All that blood, she said softly. But she needed to speak, she said, because she did not believe that the investigation into his death had answered the central questions tormenting her and the countless Haitians, and us as well, right here, reading this right now. We're tormented by this. We really want to know who did this, who financed it, who put it together, and why. Who ordered and paid for the assassination of her husband is the big question. I think we've gotten to that already, but we just don't know why or who those people are connected to. The Haitian police have detained a wide array of people in connection with the killing, including 18 Colombians and several Haitians and Haitian Americans, and they are still seeking others. The suspects include retired Colombian commandos, a former judge, a security equipment salesman, a mortgage and insurance broker in Florida, and 2 commanders of the president's security team. According to the Haitian police, the elaborate plot revolves around a 63-year-old doctor and pastor, Christian Emmanuel Sanon, who officials said conspired to hire the Colombian mercenaries to kill the president and seize political power in Haiti. We've been through this before. But critics of the government's explanation says that none of the people named in the investigation had the means to finance the plot on their own. They're still beating a dead bush. Why? Because Dr. Sanon was actually financed by 2 wealthy people out of Miami, Florida, USA. So, Dr. Sanon was the financier. The people who financed him had already given an interview and had already said that yes, they did finance him. They told us how much money it cost. It was like almost 980,000 US dollars. You could call that $1 million. And they explained where the money came from, how the money would be given, and what they expected in return. So I don't know why these, and for those of you who've been following our videos, you know this. Right? So I don't know why they're still saying they want to know, they want to know. Anyways, she wants to know what happened to the 30 to 50 men who were usually posted at her house whenever her husband was at home. None of his guards were killed or even wounded, she said. And I don't understand how nobody was shot, she said, which is what we also said. And it turned out that they were all involved. At the time of his death, Mr. Moise, who was 53 years old, had been in the throes of a political crisis. Protesters accused him of overstaying his term. They accused him of stealing money through some Petro-Carib scandal, and of controlling local gangs, and of ruling by decree as the nation's institutions were being hollowed out. So they wanted him out. Many people, thousands and thousands, would gather to protest that they wanted Jovenel Moise out of office. Now, Mr. Moise, who was also locked in a battle with some of the nation's wealthiest oligarchs, including the family that controls the nation's electrical grid. It's like JPS in Jamaica. There is no competition. In the US, you have different states, but of course you have different competitions as well. Now, while many people describe the president as an autocratic leader or autocratic leader, Mr. or Mistress Moise says that her fellow citizens should remember him as a man who stood up to the rich and the powerful. And now she wants to know if one of them had killed him. Only the oligarchs and the systems could kill him, she said. Dressed in black, with her arm now limp and perhaps useless forever, she said, wrapped in a sling and bandages, Mistress Moise offered an interview in South Florida on agreement that the New York Times not reveal her whereabouts. Of course, she is no longer there, so they are now saying. Now, flanked by her security, her children, Haitian diplomats, and other advisors, she barely spoke above a whisper. She and her husband had been asleep when the sounds of gunfire jolted them to their feet. This is what she recalled. And Mrs. Moise also said that she ran to wake her two children. Both of their children are in their 20s. And she urged them to hide in the bathroom, the only room in the house that had no windows. She said that they huddled there with their dog. He said, I found Dimitri Herard. This is what, listen to this part right here. Her husband grabbed, listen, she and her husband had been asleep. Gunfire jolted them, woke them, they got up. They got the kids, told them, go huddle in the bathroom. Her husband grabbed his cell phone and called for help. And I asked him, I said, honey, who did you call? And he said, I found Dimitri Herard. I found Jean Laguille Civil. She said, reciting the names of two cop officials in charge of presidential security, and they told me that they are coming. But the assassins entered the house swiftly, seemingly unencumbered, she said. Nobody was holding them back. They walked in as if it was their house. Mr. Moise told his wife to lie down on the floor so she would not get hurt. That's where I think you will be safe, she recalls him saying to her. It was the last thing that he told her. A burst of gunfire came through the room, she said, hitting her first, struck her in the hand and the elbow. She lay still on the floor, convinced that she and everyone else in her home were about to be killed. Now, none of the assassins spoke Creole or French, she said. The men spoke only Spanish, and they communicated with someone on the phone as they reached the room. They seemed to find what they wanted on a shelf where her husband kept all his files. They were looking for something in the room and they found it, Mrs. Moise said. Now I'm wondering, what the hell did they find? What was so important to go in like that to get that thing? She said she did not know what it was. Now, at this moment, I felt that I was suffocating because there was blood in my mouth and I couldn't breathe. In my mind, everybody is going to be dead, because if the president could die, everybody else could die too. The men, her husband, had called for help. She said the officials entrusted with his security are all today in Haitian custody. Why? Because they're all suspected of being a part of this, and they all disappeared and left the president when it all went down. Now, while she expressed satisfaction that a number of the accused conspirators have been detained, she is by no means satisfied. Mrs. Moise wants international law enforcers, agencies like the FBI, which recently searched homes in Florida this week as a part of the investigation, to track the money that financed the killing. Remember, I told you the trail is there for the money as well. Sanin, back from Sanin to the two people who gave him the money, now they're going to have to go into those two people's life to find out where they get their money from. Now, the Colombian mercenaries who were arrested, she said, they did not come to Haiti to play hide and seek, and she wants to know who paid for all that. In a statement on Friday, the FBI said that it remains committed to working alongside our international partners to administer justice. Mrs. Moise expected the money to trace back to wealthy oligarchs in Haiti whose livelihood were disrupted by her husband's attack on their lucrative contracts, she said. Mr. Moise cited a powerful Haitian businessman who has been wanted to run for president for some time, and they're talking about Reginald Bolas as someone who had something to gain from her husband's death. Now, although she didn't fully say he did it, she said everything else to make you think that she really believes that Mr. Bolas is the one that did this. Now, Mr. Bolas and his business have been at the center of a barrage of legal cases brought by the Haitian government under Jovenel, which is investigating allegations of a preferential loan that was obtained from the state pension fund. Mr. Bolas' bank accounts were frozen before Mr. Moise's death, and they were released immediately after he had died. This is what Mistress Moise said. In an interview, Mr. Bolas seeked to clear his name though, because Mr. Bolas said, I'm not running, I'm not hiding, I'm here to speak. So Mr. Bolas said that only his personal accounts with less than 30,000 US dollars had been blocked. I got money. So they blocked one account that had 30,000 in it. Off of principle, took him to court, fought the government, got my money back, got my account unfrozen. But it was only that one account. He insisted that far from being involved in the killing, his political career was actually better off with Mr. Moise alive, because denouncing the president was such a pivotal part of Mr. Bolas's platform. So with the president being dead, my campaign is pretty much dead, because it's all about fighting you out of power. He said, I had absolutely nothing to do with his murder, even in dreams. I support a strong independent international investigation to find out who came up with the idea, who financed it, and who ordered it executed. Mr. Moise said that he wants the killers to know. Mistress Moise said that she wants the killers to know that she's not afraid of them. I would like people who did this to be caught, otherwise they will kill every single president that takes power, she said. They did it once, they will do it again. She said that she is seriously considering to run for presidency once she undergoes some more surgeries on her wounded arm, and she has already had 2 surgeries on that arm, and the doctors now plan to implant nerves from her feet into her arm, she said. She may never regain use of that right arm, she said, and can only move 2 fingers on that hand. She said that President Jovenel had a vision, and she said that we the Haitian people are not going to let that vision die. And shout out to the New York Times for this, and shout out to the writers who wrote this in the New York Times, so there are no plagiarism issues. But as I was reading it, I was cutting in between to give my own 2 cents based on all that we know so far. This is not about opinions. This is us dealing with facts and what we have been privy to know so far. Leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll catch you on the next video with SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.